Okay, real talk. Al dente real talk. YTV's Dark Knight 6. I'm Review Cultist, and with me for the last 2 or 3 weeks...
Yo, this is your boy Matt. I'm coming here because it was time to stop being friends and start being real, you know?
I'm hungry and they haven't let me out. Can you bring me a Snickers? I'm Travis.
Travis, you ain't you when you're hungry. You gotta grab a Snickers. Sorry, I've been rewatching The Wire for a talk I'm doing. So I'm just...
Nice.
I got that Bodhi voice in my head.
That bony voice in your head.
Bodhi. He's the character.
Bodhi. I heard Boney. I was like, what?
I got that bony voice, yo. I got that skeletal vibe going right.
Oh man, because it's Halloween. Ooh.
Spooky.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fuck He-Man's day up, yo.
God. We're doing Dark Knight 6, the last of the Dark Knights before YTV moved on to a kind of lame monster talk show thing that for 1 year, and then they basically just gave up as they started fresh in 2000. So, so the first one, Dark Knight 4, we had ghoulish cult ravers.
We had the vampire rave, with the
vampire rave,
the blues guy,
Vampire the Rave Masquerade.
No, I was gonna say Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah, that works.
And then Dark Knight 5, we had aliens, and this is totally real, guys. Except at the end of the broadcast, no, this is not real. Don't sue us. Don't freak out too much.
Yeah, and then I guess you were saying that in response to that, they were asked by YTV to tone it down.
Yeah, like they had apparently some meetings where they're like, "Did we go too far? Like, should we maybe tone it down?"
No, it's the children that are wrong.
Yeah, yeah, God. So they decided to go a little. At this point in YTV's broadcast history, they also had the slogan. There was a slogan going on for like this year and like the year before, where it was like, "Keep it weird on YTV."
That explains the cutaways. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, they got rid of the green skull. I think
the green skull shows up in there occasionally.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, not as often as the other ones.
Yeah, they were trying to replace it with that weird, like, tentacle, like, Frankenstein,
the tentacle brain
CGI thing. Yeah. And trying to make YTV more weird than scary. So then they kind of just screwed the pooch. But,
yeah, it's that, what is it, that Twitter post, like, did Halloween in Disneyland USA, boo, trick or treat. Hope did you a spook, and then it's like Halloween in Disneyland, Germany. We chained a ghost to our boat to remind you that death is inevitable.
Yes, I remember seeing that picture.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to it, but what they ran into is the issue of having to do weird in general, and the issues of trying to figure out where to toe that line and what axum of the weird to sit on.
Yeah, I imagine we're not getting very, very deep into the artistic level of horror with this, with this commercial. What is it? The bumper for commercials for a block skits, of children's programming.
Yeah.
While you're watching Buffy the Vampire and Goosebumps.
Dude, this was the first one I saw, and I heard Buffy the Vampire, Goosebumps, and something else. I was like, "This is the greatest channel ever." I wish I had this growing up.
Yeah. Nice. They also had, I think at the end of this, like right, like after the last skit, I think they went on to Poltergeist. Like,
Poltergeist.
What?
Yeah, that was. Yeah, did you not catch that in the promo breaks? Yeah, they talked about
Poltergeist.
They talked about Poltergeist twice.
That's right. I have that in here. It's just like, wait, what? Poltergeist?
They put the tagline on Poltergeist as the movie that brought the fun back to television.
I don't understand that at all.
That's a line I would use.
I also really liked the that in between here there was, I guess every Dark Knight there's always a contest, and this one in the version that we watched on YouTube they actually left the contest in, which I love that this clown horror themed Dark Knight
Norman
the contest
D. Clown.
was. Yeah, the contest for this one was like spend a night overnight at a circus.
Yeah, I have a note here. It's like, wake up somewhere weird contest. And like, that's the most 90s creepy ass thing ever that would never fly nowadays.
Now, for context because the location of the circus thing, it's not like out in a field or anything like that. It's actually at the Toronto, Skydome area, or it was called the Skydome in the 90s. It's now called something else. I think the Rogers Theatre building or something. Basically, it's a Rogers Stadium. So it's basically like a large amphitheater stadium for sports events and other events. Mm-hmm. But it's basically like bunk under the big top kind of thing. But yeah, it was sponsored by what was it? Fruit something?
Dare Real Fruit.
Dare Real Fruit and sponsored by Nissan later on in the
evil voice. Dark Knight presented by Fruit. It's good for you.
I mean, the last year was Dark Knight sponsored by Kmart's.
Yeah, and then the one before that was was it sponsored by Katie?
Okay, I found on darefoods.ca, Dare Real Fruit Biscuits, available in apple and strawberry flavors.
I dare say that this is probably a better Kmart advertisement than the other one, since there's so many toys that they're pushing in the middle of this skit.
Yeah. So I guess we should go into the rundown of the story, or the, I do in quotes, plot.
Yeah, I gotta say the plot for this one was a lot less than the other two. The other two had a through line. The general plot for this one is kid wakes up in a weird house, goes to weird school, is weird.
Kid is in fever dream or some weird dark live action Nicktoon from the 90s.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was. Have you ever seen do you remember the contest where they were giving away the Simpsons house? Yeah. That you could actually live in? Really? And how weird it looked. Because this house is all just such bizarre colors. It's lime green walls and stuff.
This Dark Knight was actually when you had me on the show for was it the train one, the train thing for Ugly Talk? What the hell was it called? Shit, that train thing.
The train thing.
There was you made me watch 8 episodes.
Not People Live Here. It's the one by the comedy sketch group.
Oh, yeah. Shit. Cry of Man.
Cry of Man.
Cry of Man. Okay, there we go. Yeah. When you guys had me on for Cry of Man, this, watching that actually kind of brought my memories back of this, a particular Dark Knight for some reason. I think mainly because of, the set pieces.
It's the set pieces, it's the miniature, and it's the... You can always tell when something is a prop for a show or it's a built-in set because there's little things that you can do to make it weird and disjointed and off-putting with very little work. And it's hard to describe, but if you go back and watch Cry of Man and you watch this and you watch some other television from the 90s that wants to be weird and creepy, you'll notice it. It's a lot of Dutch angles. It's a lot of odd placement of objects. Color pattern really helps. It's also inflections and stuff and lighting.
The mom has way too much makeup.
The mom looks like she's straight out of Black Hole Sun. Especially at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she looks like she's out of any 90s music video, the casting for Mom.
Yeah.
How do we get across the concept of Mom in under 3 seconds, this specific outfit?
Jake, honey, would you like your oatmeal?
Yeah.
But yeah, so the kid...
I also thought this was an Animorphs parody. If only because it's centered on a kid named Jake.
Yeah, that's true.
Although then I realized Animorphs, the TV show, wouldn't come out for another couple of years and would not come out until even later in Canada.
Yeah, I think it came out like a year or two after it started in America.
Yeah, but it came out in Canada
still.
after it was canceled in America.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It only got 1.25 seasons.
Damn. But so yeah, this kid Jake wakes up, I guess going to a new school, and I guess is this his new house or is this his house?
This is his house. He's going to a new school. It's basically a first day of school situation.
Yeah. He seemed very familiar with his house, with his like weird melting alarm clock and his robot clown that went around his room.
Yeah, and like all those weird and like the weird colored like walls and posters and shit. Goes downstairs. He's like basically monotone. Like he's like just so bland the entire.
Yeah, this was like I want to say this is like the worst child actor I've seen in anything, and I've watched all of David Cage's games.
But he's not a French child actor, so...
He's not... Well, yeah. Well, again, David Cage, I want to say, putting French children to try and play American kids is your best decision.
Let us go play with the baguette ball. It's basketball, child. Yes, baguette ball.
I will never forget you, Scotty.
Dead.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so he goes, like just kind of like goes downstairs. His mom gives him some oatmeal, and then he looks down and like drops it because it's got like maggots and worms in it. And
yeah,
stuff.
He flips it over, and it's just maggots in like a bowl of oil. Like,
yeah, basically
really old motor oil.
Yeah, some horrible like goo. Basically the Dark Knight slime.
Yeah, it's very Lost Boys. I'm looking it up right now. I knew I forgot something.
Oh yeah.
I want to know when the Lost Boys came out. Yeah, no, it's got to be a clear reference
in the 80s,
the Lost Boys film, because that came out in 87. Yeah. It's like, and that when they're eating Chinese food and they're like, Michael, how do you like it? It's like, it's Chinese food. It's like, how do you like your maggots, Michael? And you look down and it's worms and maggots and stuff.
Yeah. It's like, it's just noodles, Mikey. As he's like eating it because of the worms, yeah.
Good old Kiefer Sutherland playing a 13-year-old immortal vampire.
How long have you been 13?
God damn it. No, get away from that. But yeah, as it turns out, it was actually just oatmeal, and then he's like, "Oh, you sure you don't like it? It's got raisins in it." It's like, I don't like raisins.
Yeah.
And just like, and then he just like packs up, goes outside, which, what's also kind of creepy about this is like rewatching it, that looked very close to what like my neighborhood growing up. So it's like, that could have been like filmed near like in that like neck of the woods. But, he looks over and his mom's like just like watching him like diabolically through the window, and then he just like storms down the road to school.
Yeah, and then we go to I think
the vague Calliope music is playing as he goes to the away.
Yeah, he goes to future perfect school, the Academy for the Gifted.
Yeah. And if this is this place for the gifted, I want my gift sent back.
I was actually kind of confused by the opening of this scene, because he opens the door and then he goes to like there's like a perfect like 3x3 set of desks with children that are all in white uniforms, and then it cuts back to him, and then there's a reverse shot of the same 9 desks that are now laid out in a circle, but everybody's wearing red uniforms.
Yeah.
I just figured it was a comment on the North American education system.
It's possible.
Yeah, probably. This is some real David Simon shit right here.
Also, I don't understand
and then the Trunchbull shows up.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Or the Trunchbull's more mathematically inclined sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one who does not throw children over fences by their pigtails.
We have a new student now, don't we, Jake?
Yeah, the inflection on Jake got really weird as it went on.
Yeah.
That was the one thing I liked, was they never talked to Jake without saying his name somewhere in the sentence.
Yeah. No, that's true. Even in the even his like later with his friend, like she's constantly like saying his name too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then like teacher gets like there's some like opens up the suitcase. There's a tentacle thing, throws it back in there, closes it. goes to the door because there's a message, and it's just this weird, like, scratching, wheezing sound thing. And it's like this. We start getting, like, glimpses of this, like, I guess, mastermind behind what's the weirdness that's going on. Basically, this Dark Knight's, what was the guy, the bard dude from the fourth one?
The Barker Man, yeah. This is, I don't know. I'm calling this guy the sorcerer, the magician.
Yeah.
Because
he looks
magician.
like a he looks like a stage magician.
Like a stage magician or a ringleader.
He looks like Joe Bluth.
Did you guys notice that it looked like he had, like, filed down horns, like he just had, like, little, like, circles, like nubs on his forehead?
I didn't.
Yeah, it looks as if it's like prosthetics, or maybe they've hired somebody that has the ball bearing implant in their head.
Yeah. But yeah, after that, little, like, exchange at the door, the teacher suddenly gets really angry with Jake, and just like, seems you've been quite busy, Jake. It's like, you don't make it any worse. Like, what? What'd I do? It's like, don't make it worse than you already is, Jake. Go to the office.
I think at that point I was like, wow, what a dumb nightmare. Because it is just nightmarish, but it was just like, this is stupid. And the best type of stupid nightmare.
Yeah, no, it's very accurate to nightmares, and then nothing makes sense.
And then green men show up and start feeling up the vampire.
Yeah, okay. Weird.
No, but remember, like, Jake's going down the hallway, and then there's two people in, like, the green man, yellow leotard. They come out of the side, and evil sorcerer man standing there, and you're just like, ooh, ah! And when he turns around, they're not there. Just like, what?
And they just starts running. Yeah. Gets to the principal's office. There's a brief silhouette of the sorcerer there, or behind the door, and then it's like, Principal, what the hell is the principal's name? Like Principal Martin. And it's like, hi, Jake, and it's just it cuts to this clown.
It cuts to the clown while the Curb Your Enthusiasm song starts playing. I died laughing at that point. Because I just could not help it.
I actually missed that particular theme. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Curb Your Enthusiasm, so I have to be told when that theme
when that plays, it's just, I don't know how to describe Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's like Seinfeld. It's a show about nothing.
Except it's also like semi-improv, I think, like, and it led to a lot of bad, like, sitcoms that are like, oh, Curb Your Enthusiasm did improvisation, so we don't have to write scripts anymore.
No, you do, because the guys in charge of Curb Your Enthusiasm are professional script writers and screenwriters.
No, don't worry about it. We'll just hire improv. We'll just hire improvisational comedians. It'll be fine.
And then, the principal clown has basically starts talking to us like, we have great plans for you. I mean, I have great plans for you, Jake. And it's like, once I talk to your mother, my mother? How do you know my mother? It's, we talk a lot, Jake. And then there's a knock on the door.
I will avoid my little improvisation that I wrote during that little exchange.
I mean, you can add it now. It's whatever.
This is real talk.
Where did you meet my mother? And the principal is, she's a chlorophobic, Jake. We meet regularly. She gives me a good honking, Jake.
God damn it.
I really thought you were going to go the other way on that. It's like, how did you meet my mother? Jake, do you frequent dockside bars? Jake, do you like baseball?
Jake, have you ever been to a Turkish bathhouse?
God. But yeah, so there's suddenly a knock at the door, and like the principal like gets like, answer the door, Jake, and then goes and checks it, and it's his friend. I can't remember what
what was her name? I didn't write it down.
Shit.
1 second. I have it up because I knew I would forget things in my notes. It's like Stacy, right? Jenny. That's her name.
Jenny, okay.
Yeah. It's like Jenny, and then suddenly, Principal
suddenly the school
Martin
is no
normal.
longer.
Yeah, suddenly the school is like back to normal. And then where does it go from there? Like basically
He tells Jake to show her around, show her to her classes, and get her acquainted with the school. And then Jake starts trying to tell her, like, this school's weird, everything's weird, we need to get out of here. And
yeah, it's like, I don't know why my mom, like, my parents, your mom told me, or my parents to, like, move me here. It's like, wait, what do you mean? So, and it's like after, like a week ago, like, your mom talked to my parents, and suddenly I'm like, transferred here, too. And it's like, oh, God, this is so weird. And then I think the sorcerer shows up, and they start running.
Yes, and that's the
yeah, and they run into... Yeah, and then they end up running into a closet, where they run into
the audiovisual department.
Yeah,
and
the audiovisual department to get away, and they see two guys, and they're like, "Oh, we saved 2 spaces for you to play the game," and they're playing what is obviously Pop-O-Matic Trouble.
Well, yeah, no, it's Dark Knight.
Or no, sorry, it's
Trouble.
it's the Dark Knight branded "Don't Torment Me."
Fun fact:
the chasing game that really frustrates.
Last I checked, you could actually find like a copy of that on like Amazon or eBay.
So does the Dark Knight version also have a button where the entire board just fills with chocolate sauce?
It does not.
That's good. That would make it very hard to play that game.
That makes a very, very messy game.
Yeah. So Jake and Jenny leave, and like the AV student or person is just like, oh good, it's my turn. And he
after the whole board
got, like,
they hit the Pop-O-Matic bubble, and then the whole board just fills with chocolate sauce, and he's like, oh good, it's my turn.
And like touches it and is like, yes, and it's black gack.
Yeah.
And then
we're gonna keep referring to this as a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah. It really is just gonna be so they're running down the halls. They go down some set of stairs, and
I think Jenny's like, all right, this is really weird. Yeah. We should figure something out. And then I think it cuts away again, and we get more trivia.
No, I have it pulled up here. So they're running, because this is after Jenny explains, like, oh, I came here because of your parents. And they turn a corner, and then the Yellow Men and the Sorcerer and the creepy teacher and the clown are there. And they're like, get out of here! And they run as the camera is spinning as they're running down the hallway.
Yeah. Right, and that's where we get the to be continued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it comes back, and it's like, we need to get out of here now. And Jenny's like, I don't want to, like, be late on my first day of school or whatever. And then Jake's like, you saw what was back there. I don't know what I saw.
Yeah, and then I think isn't his mom like suddenly in the hallway too, like with like some of the people there?
That was the previous break. Those were there. It's not his mom.
One? Okay.
Yeah, and then Jake's like, I need to go, we gotta go, and then the teacher and his mom show up, like, peeking around corners, and he's looking crazy, and then he wakes up. Oh, after Jenny turns into a puddle of chocolate syrup.
Oh, right, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. It's like, Jenny? And then looks down, there's just some clothes.
Isn't like the sorcerer touches her, and then she, like, disappears?
No,
or
I don't
is
think
she
the
just
sorcerer
gone?
Was there.
She's just gone.
I think
Jake's looking...
Yeah, she just phased out. They off-cameraed her.
Yeah. And then, he wakes up and he hits his Nickelodeon slime clock.
Yep. And then goes downstairs and goes to have the oatmeal again, and then starts eating some of it. It's actually, like, oatmeal. And then he realizes it's not, and then he, like, checks his ear or something, and he's got like ink on his thumb, and he just starts screaming.
No, not quite.
Oh no,
because he
sorry,
eats it. There's a doorbell ring. He goes and checks it. The sorcerer's there. He runs back into the kitchen, and all the weird people are there. And there's maggots in his oatmeal, and then there's
maggots and motor oil in the oatmeal. Yeah,
and then there's chocolate syrup on his fingers, which he screams, and he ends looking like a dummy staring at the screen.
Yeah,
and Jenny's there too, but they didn't give her a special costume.
Yeah, she's just literally sitting there.
She's just sitting there in her red sweater and just laughing with everybody else.
Yep. And that's basically how Dark Knight 6's plot ended. Not with a bang, but with a whimper.
That was that was the end of Dark Knight. It was one of these things where, like, the other ones we could kind of talk about, like, moment to moment. There was stuff that seemed to have a through line and, like, was building to something. This one was just like stuff happens. Like, it was like walking through a haunted house.
It really does feel like, I was talking before this, that it feels as if they had an idea in mind and they had to cut it out. like, because it really does have the fever dream, but it also feels as if, like, maybe this is a psychotic break, and then also there's this other through line that maybe it's something else, and it seems to have an implication of something more. Very fever dream, but something more, and then it just kind of goes, nah, never mind. As if they were like, no, that's too rough. Yeah. Let's not.
I think also one thing that would have sold the dream kind of twist is if Jake woke up in a normal looking house and then everything got weird again.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the house itself was like, not just like this weird, like, obvious studio set house.
Yeah, because that was the thing. Like, both parts, he wakes up in the same house with, like, the lime green walls and his weird looking mom.
Yeah, like, it feels as if, I guess for mine, it feels as if he should have just woken up and been at school and just been, like, falling asleep in the middle of class. Like, he just wakes up about having a nightmare at the first day of school, and it is that, or even it is a stable time loop, i.e. he just keeps reliving the day, but it kind of juxtaposed between weird and not. The kind of, the fact that it goes from, ooh, this is ooky spooky, it might be real, nope, surprise, evil, laugh at screen, cut to black, kind of just, it doesn't do anything for what they're trying to say.
Yeah, it's just, they fell short by the end of this one, because like they just it's weird, isn't it so weird, like
yeah, they didn't
open interpretation.
Yeah,
it feels as if maybe there was another one and they had to just go with the weird route instead of the possible safe route because of their previous, don't scare the kids in the Dark Knight 5 fiasco.
Yeah, and like I'm also like I'm a huge I like the idea of open-ended like endings, I guess, or like open to interpretation endings. But yeah, this one it really just kind of falls flat.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I think it's probably because they were kind of debating whether or not they wanted to go cut back on the scary for this year. So.
Yeah, and it really shows, like, I guess as I guess as some, like, as a bumper to fill time between commercials, like, this one works better because it doesn't really have a through line. So, like, if you weren't part of the whole YTV power block, like, it makes anything just makes as much sense as anything else.
Yeah. Especially since they were hammering in that whole "keep it weird" slogan for that year.
Yeah, keep it weird, kids. Stay tuned for the Poltergeist.
The movie that put fun back.
Yeah, that's really weird. Like,
I don't
why did they
understand
put
that,
in?
Logan.
There's a scene in Poltergeist where a dude rips his face off. Like,
okay, well, I actually understand like why they put that movie in, because I think the other previous Dark Knight years they've had like a horror movie at the end of like the broadcasting. I can't remember which ones they were, but I feel like there were like some horror movies that always like followed up on the listings of like the horror themed or Halloween themed TV shows that they were showing.
Yeah, it's just without knowing which ones that they used in the programming, but like Poltergeist is notorious for scarring children because they're like, oh, it's got a kid in it, it'll be great, and then like, nope, never looking at a TV, scared of ghosts for the rest of my life. Like,
oh god, I wonder if they chose because we're doing this clown skit and Poltergeist has clown. And that's one way to terrify everybody.
In fact,
Poltergeist has a lot of things.
Actually, in fact, thinking about it, the guy I talked about, one of the guys I know that's terrified or like watched Poltergeist way too young is a Canadian. What is it? Matt McMuscles from the Best Friends crew.
Super Best
I was talking about how I just for one of their shitstorms of scariness was talking about how he watched Poltergeist, and he's like, I haven't watched it since I was a kid. He's about our age. I wonder if he watched it during Dark Knight, and that's why. Because he's like, I watched that way too young, and it really messed me up.
Yeah, I remember watching that pretty young too. So, and like, I think before this Dark Knight, I think I remember watching it like early '90s. So,
but yeah, like,
yeah.
Usually,
it is an odd choice. Like I'm surprised they didn't have like Hocus Pocus or
Hocus Pocus is terrible, though.
I know, but it was 90s. Like, it was appropriately 90s and Halloween themed. But
fair.
Probably at the time it was maybe they couldn't have got the rights for that kind of thing. But still, there should have been you think there would have been another like a horror movie that they would have been like, oh, are we being too scary this year? It's like, no, we'll even it out with Poltergeist. Just like ridiculous.
And I guess at this point we can kind of talk about how we would make a game out of this, since that's the other way we talk about this series so far.
I don't.
So
there's not a whole lot to latch onto here, is the thing. Like,
I think there's
a lot of...
There's concepts here that we can latch onto, but I think one of the biggest discussions we should make is, like, the pitfall of trying to be weird and what that ended up doing to it.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Like, being so weird that, like, you lost your audience, or you'd lose your players, like, because, like, this makes no sense. Like, oh, well, it's not supposed to, it's weird. It's like, okay, well, thanks for wasting my time.
Yeah, and, like, there's a proper way to do weird. And this might also just come from the research I do, but, like, weird as a genre is, like, an amalgam of horror, fantasy, and science fiction. And, like, when people say weird, they think of the derivative of, like, ooh, it's creepy, it's ooky, it's a little spooky, but I don't get it. But, like, when you need to make a weird story, the whole point of it should be to create a situation that is bizarre, possibly a little misunderstandable or ununderstandable, but never be rug-pulling and never be juvenile to it. Like, the best, like, I can point to a couple of weird stories right now. The most easiest for anybody to watch right now, or have access to right now, is the Southern Reach trilogy by Jess Vandermeer, and the movie they based off of it, like the Annihilation film. Like, that is solidly in the weird genre, and that is weird. It feels like a fever dream for half of it, but it never just cheapens itself. It follows through on the weirdness in a way that allows it to be satisfying without being ooky, spooky, or just mundane. And there's a fine line that's hard to describe to get that. And one of the reasons for this kind of discussion is I've been trying to look up weird genre games, and, like, outside of some very specific pulp settings, like the Weird West of Deadlands and, like, Palladium doing, like, Kitchen Soup, you don't get a lot of that mechanical benefits or settings and system that can do it properly. You have to pick and choose from an action genre, a science fiction genre, a fantasy genre.
Yeah, or a horror genre, like Dreamlands. I could see, like, for, like, Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu stuff, like, the Dreamlands is kind of your go-to, or the Big C, Carcosa.
Yeah, and, like, that's the easy one to pull for this. Like, this is when it is a fever dream, this is Carcosa, or the Dreamlands. Like, it's a kid that has stumbled into the Dreamlands and is just using the power of the Dreamlands to re-experience the same day. Or if you're using Carcosa, it's that idea of entropy, but it's sped up in such a way that it actually has a face of the sorcerer as who's the cause of it.
Yeah, like, he'd definitely be our, like, tattered king kind of.
Yeah, and like
character.
that's the easy way to pull out of this, and that's the easy go-to, because Carcosa is just very simple. Of things get worse in repetition until you go mad. But, like, my biggest issue with this, like I've said, is, like, it should have ended weirder. It should have ended with him going to school and, like, an amalgam of, like, oh yeah, we've seen the principal without the clown makeup and with the clown makeup. Maybe we go and maybe the last scene is literally him going to orientation, meeting his friend, and his principal is in clown makeup. Just something that's bizarre but combines both elements in this semi-satisfying but bemusing way.
You know, one thing I had thought of, like, just kind of basing this in something that feels sort of in the theme of this. Have you ever seen the video for MGMT's Kids?
Yes.
No.
So one of the things I remember from that video is that it's like from the perspective of a baby, and everybody the baby is familiar with shows up like people, and everybody the baby has not seen are like horrifying monsters.
Oh God!
And one thing that came to me, and one thing I don't know how well it would work.
Oh my God! Yes, I remember this now.
Doing like a Little Fears game based on just your first day of school.
Yeah.
And like having to get used to like this whole new structure and all these other random adults and being away from the house for a long time, meeting all these other people, like being exposed to a greater culture as a whole. And just taking that through like the eyes of like a 5-year-old.
Yeah, that's actually an excellent example, because that even goes back to the idea we keep touching about Little Fears of like your fears make it worse. So like the kid going to the principal office automatically turns him into a monster. His friend shows up. Oh, that kind of calms it down because my friend's here. You're not a principal. You're not a clown. But then you start getting paranoid again.
Yeah, so make it more like a psychological... God, a Little Fears psychological horror game.
Little Fears can be very psychological, but it's usually just run as a monster of a week situation.
Yeah.
But I also... There is an element in there that is worthy of what Matt is saying specifically, of pulling out, that this thing plucks at, but doesn't fully, like, get to. There's actually a new video out by H. Bomber Guy. I don't know if any of y'all watch him. He does a lot of...
I've heard of him. I don't know if I've watched a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
There's some of his... I can't remember the one that he's done before. He does a lot of commentary. I post him a couple times on the Discord. Anyways, he did a recent video on Lovecraft and how he hates... about a film that he hated and then is loved after going through experiences. Long story short... the film is about, it's called Cthulhu. Surprise. It's based off Shadows of Innsmouth very loosely. It's about a homosexual going home to his very, very Protestant, anti-LGBTQ father after the death in the family, and having to deal with that type of homophobia and xenophobia on top of other weird stuff going on. But it's this, what you were talking about, Matt, about play a kid that's going to school for the first time and having new rules, new structures, new people. Like, the entire video talks about how that's one of the things that Lovecraft did, is it provide a viewpoint for the outsider to, and their experiences of, you know, these unknowable things I can't control, this judgmental work, these entities that can just crush me at any moment. It provided, Lovecraft, he was saying, provided that viewpoint for people of the LGBTQ and outsider communities, and that's what you kind of need to latch onto for this game. And what Matt's idea is taking that idea of alienation, isolation, and inability to control and being at the whim of these power structures that you can't even understand, and turning it into a game of Little Fears, using the elements of cosmic horror as your elements for this very silly kids game.
Yeah, and I feel like the only way to really make that work is to not make it apparent what it is, but kind of let your players come to the realization.
Yeah, it has to be a journey of self-discovery. We use that phrase a lot, but it does.
It comes back to my old comes back to my old game idea of run a Cthulhu game, but don't give the players the hint that all of the monsters you're describing are actually just Pokemon.
Oh God, yeah.
There is so many times I would actually adore that game, because there's so many times people are focused on the visuals of and the spectacle of cosmic horror that they don't realize sometimes it's super goofy and that it's not something to be scared of. Like, the Pokemon idea is fabulous, because what is it? Like, oh, there's a horse-shaped object that's flaming, and as it steps, it leaves craters in the ground, because Ponyta's, hooves are harder than diamonds. Like,
right?
Yeah.
It's just like,
oh God,
yeah, it's run as it causes craters in the ground, and as anybody that has a Geiger counter sees it goes off as it's setting off radiation from, diamonds compacting and creating X-rays and all that stuff. Like, Jesus. It's terrifying! It's hilarious when you understand what's going on. And this even kind of, that idea even kind of segues into, there was a game about 2 years ago that posted of the idea of creating four-dimensional objects in a 3D plane.
Oh God.
I think I've told you about this, Matt, but it's essentially the idea of, like, if you present something to a player they don't understand, they get spooky by it. But if you can give them a concept, they wrap their hand around it, it doesn't have to be spooky, it becomes interesting. So the idea of this one is the idea of, like, on a two-dimensional plane, the only way, or in a two-dimensional world, the only way for them to interact with a three-dimensional object is in 2D. So, like, if a cube or a circle goes through a 2D plane, it starts small, gets big, and gets small again. They extruded this idea into a three-dimensional plane of, like, well, the only way that a three-dimensional, 3.5-dimensional object like humans could interact with a higher dimensional plane is through a 3D object that shows up. And as you play this Testifer game, I think it's dead now, it could actually scale through time and space that you would go through like a tesseract and get trapped in the center until you scrolled it back or scrolled it forward. It super hurts the head, which means it's a good concept. Yeah. But, like, that idea of, like, oh, no, this pulsing, expanding pool, what is it? And then it's like, oh, it's just a giant horse that just got a fifth-dimension horse that got trapped in here, and you're just wandering through the horse cave until it disappears and there's nothing left. That's a weird-ass game, but it's also a really silly game.
Yeah, no, I like that idea of, like, just flavoring it different, or just, like, not flavoring it different, but, like, just, like, using its abilities, not its descriptor.
The descriptors are how you shape individuals' perception. You use spooky words that people don't know to make them fearful. You use comforting and familiar words to make something inviting. Which is what this video, this is one of the things that this Dark Knight does well, is that it automatically sets up. Matt just sent me a peering into the cross section of the horse. The one I was thinking of is The Cell, the film with I can't remember her name.
There's 4 images of this fourth dimensional horse.
Good God!
I didn't even know this was a thing when I used that example.
I only remembered it because somebody used it as an excuse to draw Hyper Horse and a different idea.
Yeah, this is great. This is awesome. But yeah,
and it just runs out of time.
And that's what a higher dimensional being would look like in a smaller one. But yeah, that's when
I got this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I got this book from this like crackpot theory called like Imagining the 12th Dimension or something.
Is it how the 10th dimension is the highest dimension? I've seen that video before. Someone was doing calculations.
Yeah. I got the book based on that video.
Cool.
Nice.
And then I think I read about halfway through it, and somewhere in there it's like, is this book a crock? Yes, it is. I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Is this a theory? Yes, a game theory.
All right, super done. It's just like those guys that's like, no, I read like 8 different books on like dimensional theory, and this is my idea of what the 10th dimension is.
But yeah, getting back to Dark Knight, like we were talking about how perception and language informs what it is, if it's spooky or not. Like that's the good thing this thing does, is like you wake up and it's spooky. The mom looks like she's from every 90s. She's every 90s mom crossed with a black hole son. The room is wrong in that like bizarre kids way that
sitcom
automatically
way.
puts you on edge, expecting weirdness. The clowns are over the top, but then again, clowns are always evil, so like you don't even need them to be over the top. You can just have a clown.
And then there's the goo.
And then there's the goo.
And then there's that.
Go ahead.
Like this, like exotic. It's just like this exotic chemical that, or like exotic substance that is like tainting everything or corrupting everything.
Like monster blood from Goosebumps.
Goosebumps, yeah.
Yeah. To kind of segue into an idea I had actually from this was so headcanon wise, I feel like this could exist in the same world as the Dark Knight 4 one, just in a different locale. And in fact, if you were to take like these 3 Dark Knights, these 3 years of these skits, Dark Knight 4, 5, and 6, You could take those and like use them as inspiration for 3 separate scenarios that are all set in the same like world, just different locations.
Yeah, except
of, like, a city.
The Dark Knight slime from 4 is like, I don't know. The Dark Knight slime from 4 is a bit different in that like it causes a bunch of stuff, whereas this Dark Knight slime is like instant and it doesn't turn you into like a weird vampire with like pustules. It turns you into a weird. It just turns you into like, I don't know, part of the Addams family.
Yeah, no. Okay, so here's my thing. My thought process on this. So like in Dark Knight 4, it was in like the downtown core of a major city. So like dingy, like raves, like parties, and like the seedy underbelly of the city and stuff like that. So that's how it like kind of it enhanced that stuff. And like the character's journey from walking through streets trying to find this place was basically like them gradually being corrupted by the substance, by Mr. Barker or the Barker Man. And then in the next one, it's like say like just out in the boonies of the city, and so like alien sightings and like weird just UFOs and aliens and stuff like that.
It's the small town fear of something beyond showing up and changing the small town mindset.
Exactly, yeah. So you have that, and then with this one, we with Dark Knight 6, we have suburbia, kind of like uniformity, just the weird again, like the kid like going to like his first day at school, so like it's corrupting. Like it corrupts like faster or in a different way than the stuff that would in like a different locale. So it's like an environmentally changing force. So like it's almost like Stepford, like kind of like because I kind of get like a Stepford wife or like just like again that conformity uniformity kind of thing with added like Addams Family weirdness with the suburbia stuff. So. Yeah, just because it's like downplaying with the whole like suburbia.
I can kind of see where you're coming from, and that each Dark Knight could be viewed as focusing on a different aspect of the greater metropolis mindset. So you have the inner city, the suburbs, and this one that we're watching, and the out of town / small town rural area.
Yeah.
That is an actually interesting concept. I think you would have to change that a bit because like this is. The puppet and it's not the American dream. I guess the Canuckian dream. Is that a thing?
The Canuckian dream. Maybe.
The Canuckian dream is what the 6th one is, and it'd be interesting to see like if it is it feels as if it's a corruption, but through exaggeration, as the boy essentially, Jake ends up becoming what looks like a ventriloquist dummy by the end of it. And like,
exactly. And like all the kids were like conformed to like one thing. They all looked in unison, and like, again, like there's some weirdness with the clowns and stuff like that. Just I think that's just like that's just weirdness. But again, like the whole out of your safe space kind of situation of like going to a new school or like just living in suburbia.
Yeah, and like that's a concept that you can divorce straight from this that you could use. That's a good idea. It's like all these Dark Knights kind of show a way of plucking out and making or a mindset you can use when you design a horror game of like what is a thing where you live that is being pushed even subconsciously by the culture around you, and how can you put that at a forefront to be terrifying? Or, like, not even be terrifying, but create a game out of it. So, like, suburbia, new school, fitting in, falling in line. All these examples we talked about, you can even pull one from, like, I'm getting a job at a library, like, as this slime, if you want to use that as the catalyst for you, you start losing your ability to speak, and you start organizing thing, and you develop a fear of like what happens as a library or as or whatever your job / locale is.
Yeah, like because I mean there would be other like locations like not just the downtown core or the suburbs or even like I figure like it's probably like a satellite town because like that's a big thing up here is there's big cities and there's tons of like satellite towns around it like farm towns and stuff that are around the bigger cities
that got as the city expanded got appropriated into it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those. But yeah, that was like one of the big things that I came off of, like, just like headcanon. These are all like kind of in the same thing, just different locations. Another one I thought would be interesting, like story seed or like game seed, just kind of like, I guess maybe even low hanging fruit would be, the wake up somewhere weird contest.
That's called kidnapping.
No, but like super, like something like, oh yeah, you won this contest, and then you woke up like the next day, like as soon as you won the contest that night, you woke up somewhere weird. You woke up like in this like
it's like
creepy...
it's like that the Michael something movie, The Game.
Oh, that movie's awesome.
I'm not familiar with that one. The Game?
It's a weird movie. Really good though. Where this guy gets like this rich I can't remember what's the name of the actor.
Michael Douglas.
I never remember Michael Douglas. Okay, yeah, I was getting mixed up with the guy who played Kramer on Seinfeld. But yeah, he's like this rich asshole, like he is in every movie he's in. And one of his like presents for like his 50th birthday is this certificate to this entertainment company, which starts by asking him a very personal, like 150 question survey, and then creates this personal quote unquote game for him, where he has to find keys and stuff. I don't even know how to describe it. Like it just keeps getting more and more like ridiculous as it goes on.
Yeah, it's a
sure,
borderline supernatural thriller because like it is 100% a hardcore thriller, but the thing goes on and it gets weirder and weirder and weirder. The best real life version of this you can look up as the Mysterious Package Company, which is a experimental online service started in 2013, which does stuff like this. It creates ARGs personalized for you. They're hella expensive, but it's like if you you can sign someone up for them, or you can sign up yourself, and you'll get a will in the mail from a long distant dead relative and an odd box you're told never to open, and then like a couple of weeks later you might get a key to the box, or maybe there's a wireless thing that makes the box go off every 24 hours, and like inside is another thing that leads to this kind of rabbit hole. And that idea from both the game and this is that like you wake up and you don't know reality from fantasy. You can't tell what's going on, if this is part of the contest or if it's not.
Yeah, it's also kind of like playing with the same themes of the skits themselves, not just the contest, but like also the skits. Like the kid, like suddenly you're trapped in this like weird version of like your like somewhere that you didn't think you were going to be when you woke up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Jake, basically, like Jake's stuck in this weird future perfect school.
Yeah, exactly. It's this. That's a good idea seed to like plop your characters in, and the way you expose it and unravel the plot is different depending on your genres. But like, hey guys, wake up here. What's going on? I don't know. You went to bed. You know, you went to bed in your bed. You went to bed. You were drunk. You got super drunk and blacked out, and oh, you were in a hospital bed. You know, getting surgery, and now you're just here on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like. You have no idea how you got there, and like, oh, and there's this weird scraping sound coming from down the hall.
It's Pyramid Head. We're in Downpour and Homecoming. Oh no!
Oh God.
I think that also ties into the idea of like beyond your control. Like like we were mentioning, there's always that fear of something's beyond your control, and that someone is controlling you. This definitely ties into that, and would be a good way of further enhancing that thematic element in your game. Is, you know, if your game is about things beyond humans' control, messing with them, actually having the game start in a way that is beyond the player's control narratively. Like waking up in this situation is fine. Taking away mechanical control might be possible, but it's very hard to do successfully, and would take a lot of practice and comfort with your players. Yeah,
you have to have a lot of trust with your players when you're doing those kind of experimental horror games. Yeah, the other...
Don't say open.
One of the last ones... What? What?
Speaking of experiment. Don't say open. What?
No. What?
Yeah.
Okay. 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 The other one I had is, so like the best friend Jenny, like suddenly just like, is there like perfectly normal? And then Jake just turns around and she's been off-screen slimed to death, or like slimed. And then she's back again. So I had this idea, it's like, what if she's just like basically a goo mimic or like a Shoggoth Lord, like for, again, another scenario idea. Like, she is the goo, like, just, like, assuming a friendly form or, giving him a false sense of security in this madness.
It's a weird one because, like, well, as we discussed before, like, there's a lot of stuff in here that could be good, but there's not a lot. Like,
yeah, but it's definitely not the.
I honestly think the best you could get out of this is just go watch the game. I think that was actually the best comment anybody has made so far. Is like, do you like this? Go watch the game. Do the game, and then come back and talk about it.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good movie.
All right. Oh, that's okay.
There's also a movie that we threw around a lot in college because we were all terrible meme lords.
All right. So, is there anything else to say about for like the Dark Knight for anything else about this one anyway?
It was a very. It was. I'll say the Dark Knight as a whole is a very ambitious concept for a thing that you put in between TV shows and commercials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea, and I can't say I think Kids WB had a lot of sketches like this, but they never did anything. I know they had a lot of ongoing events. I don't think they ever had anything specifically for Halloween.
Yeah, like this was like I think YTV did like other things like during like other like parts of the year and stuff, but like this was like the one that everybody looked forward to in the 90s. At least I did, and my group of friends.
Right.
I think even like people like even celebrities like from like Canadian celebrities like still remember this. Like I remember like hearing that like Ellen Page tweeted like, "Hey guys," and like around Halloween one year, it's just like, "Hey, remember Dark Knight and stuff like that?" Like, it was like, it actually got some like extra some publicity from like that celebrity. But yeah, I don't know. Out of the three, like the three main ones that they put out, I guess how would you guys think? Like, how would you rate it? Like, best to worst? Like, I feel like Dark Knight 6 definitely did, like, kind of screw the pooch at the end. Like, like, it was just not... It felt flat.
Yeah, I feel like 4, 5, 6 is a good progression. I liked 4 more than 5.
Yeah, I was originally a huge fan of 5. And then, like, doing this and rewatching the other ones, like, yeah, I really actually enjoyed 4 more, because 4 actually had, like, a better narrative than 5.
4 is the best. Like, especially for me, because it's just like, it's goofy, it's silly, it's spooky, it's what the Dark Knight, from what I've experienced, wants to be. 5 is theoretically the most interesting because of being a found footage and, like, the time period and what it is fascinating to me. And 6 is the most disappointing because I saw that one first, and it super colored all of my opinions. Like, I loved it until, like, the end, and then I was sorely disappointed with it. And it's one of those disappointments that kind of drags down the entirety of the short. But as a whole, I always appreciate ambition when it's in a project. Anything that tries to do anything weird and off kilter, I always champion. So I think in the end, even with 6 being horrible and garbage, like, on the whole, it was a really cool thing. I wish they would bring back, or maybe have some type of spiritual successor to. Like, maybe even just have like a Dark Knight film, or like a web series, or something like that. I Go ahead.
Sorry, I did hear back in 2016 they did there was a theater group in Toronto actually got Phil and Paul to reprise their to come on and like do a kind of like what is it, what do they call that,
cameo, walk on.
No, it's like a revitalization of like the Dark Knight. Like they actually did like an event that was like
they did. Okay, they actually did a Dark Knight segment.
Yeah, they did like it was a stage thing, and it was basically they had like 2 or 3 movies, and it was just basically like a movie night kind of situation. But they had the
and
like,
they were the
those two
framing
guys.
device.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Between shows,
I don't know if they're. I don't know if they're doing it like every year now, but like, yeah, like when I heard that, I was like, oh my god, I would love to see like a movie or like like you said, a web series, kind of take on this idea, like
Dark Knight from the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But I don't know. Otherwise, like it's just like kind of one of those fond memories I have of Halloween during the '90s. And probably inspired my or kind of got me into like creepy stories and like creepypastas and like just horror in general.
No, and I think it does have especially for your Canadian audience, it does have a special place in like the history of horror as something that I've heard this discussed before. People want more horrific media that bridges the gap between like kid spooky stuff and adult. So like something for like the 80s slasher films that were like, hey, you're 13, go watch these people get horribly murdered. And it seems as if Dark Knight was the precursor or like one of the few bastions for Canadian television that allowed for that kind of jump. Especially with the fact they were showing Poltergeist and Buffy and like Goosebumps all in the same programming. And I think that's an interesting take on the history of horror, because now we have like creepypastas as that bridge between horror and whatnot. And it's an interesting observation.
Yeah, and again, it's also like for like game wise, like it's why there's like kind of been a reprisal of or like an increase in popularity for like horror tabletop games and stuff like that, like Call of Cthulhu, Fear Itself, Little Fears, even Monster and Other Childish Things, at least in certain circles. Like they all like kind of like feed off of that whole like kind of nostalgia horror or that kind of nostalgia for like that time period or like that that time when like Dark Knight was a thing, or like 80s slasher movies like from the 80s and or like horror movies from the 80s and 90s kind of were like a bridgestone between like adult stuff and like kids stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to really kind of place it cuz and that's the thing, like this year this one we watched is like all right, let's tone it down. Also, we're going to show Poltergeist.
Yeah. I don't understand that, because like that was in their interview. Like, yeah, we were wondering if we'd gone too scary in the last one, and then they do this.
I think
it's like, what?
I think one of the things about that is like a film, while it will make kids have nightmares, it is clearly explained that this is a film and like their parents can talk to them about it. Yeah. Found footage, especially in the area of that, is like you can't prove to me it's not real without like a lot of work. And it's an interesting observation if you look into found footage films, of like people before that was a thing freaked out and are not able to separate, because it was kind of a destruction. That's what made
Blair Witch so huge.
Yeah.
Was like nobody knew, or people didn't understand if it was real.
It's this destruction of the liminality between television storytelling and reality. It's kind of the same thing that happens with ARGs, and like we're getting more acclimated to it. In the current environment, ARGs still do it, but like with the glut of whatever it is, the horror movie that is just cameras, like people are getting more and more used to the idea of found footage being finger quote real and being able to separate like, no, this is clearly fake versus this is reality.
Yeah. I definitely think the advent of the internet, like again, like the glut, like you're saying, the glut, like now, but like even before that, like in the last like decade or so, the sheer glut of just like YouTube video, like random sightings of videos of like aliens and monsters and ghosts and stuff online. Like there's a whole culture now, like for like It's like, oh, let's just watch these spooky videos. We don't believe in them, but like they're really cool to watch. Or like they're just like, is it real? It's like, no, of course it's not. It's just CGI. It's just been like mocked up because you can do that now so easily.
Yep, that's me. That was me for the last 2 weeks going through spooky videos because it's funny.
Yeah. Again, I still go back to the one where like, oh god, is there some alien stalking these kids in like in a cemetery? And then my buddy was just like, no, it's just clearly some old guy, some homeless guy, or like the grave curator. You can see his jacket. It's just like beyond the tombstones.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just that kind of thing. It's like, again, like a little bit of hysteria mixed in with like kind of combating with like everything's fake on the internet. So yeah, we're definitely, I think, acclimating to like separating what is real and what is not. But I don't think we're quite there yet.
Yeah, I think it's also one of these things that just like horror kind of changes with the styles of the time. Like I know, I went and saw The Exorcist like a couple years ago for the first time. I'd never seen it before, and I'd always heard people talking about like how it was the scariest movie they'd ever seen, and like. I'm not going to claim that I'm not, like, I get scared by a lot of things, like, very easily.
Yeah.
And I went and saw The Exorcist, and, like, honestly, like, it's about 2 hours of, like, weird medical procedures, followed by 15 minutes of the part that everybody remembers.
Yeah. You kind of, like, forget about, like, if you haven't seen it for a while, you kind of forget about, like, there's a whole section just kind of, like, again, like you said, procedural, and then it goes into like that.
Yeah, it's one of these things. Like, it's the interesting thing about that movie is that it's the way that people would react to seeing a demonic possession. That it's like, oh, my daughter has some psychological problems. I'm going to take her to see a therapist. Oh, the therapist didn't work. The therapist recommended me to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist doesn't know what's going on. They're giving me a whole team of psychiatrists. That team says it could be this like disorder that people think they're like possessed by a demon, and then the mom's reaction is like, so you're the mom's like actual reaction is like, the team of the best psychiatrists in the world is telling me to hire a witch doctor to cure my daughter. And then she goes to the priest who does the exorcism, and he says like, all right, well, if we wanted to do this, we'd have to get in a time machine and go back to the 1600s before people knew about mental illness. You should go see a psychiatrist. And it just kind of like continues around that way. It's just this thing where it's like the mundanity of it is what makes it like fascinating. And like the bigger horror there is today more than anything else, because I think we're kind of past the satanic panic at this point by a bit, which is kind of what drove this film. Like, this film is what associated Ouija boards with the devil.
Yeah.
Prior to that, that was not a thing.
The devil.
And, like, it's a more subtle horror now about, like, and I feel like if I was a parent and watching this, it would be different, where, like, it's the bigger horror of your child is ill, and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, it's a very humanizing film, and then the rug falls out to reveal demons.
Yeah, I mean, we do know that the devil is possessing her very early because of a lot of shenanigans, and also it is called The Exorcist.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of like my daughter. You see, she's very sick. I can't do anything to fix it. This is my last hope, is like this thing that is total nonsense that I'm going to put all my like belief in. And ultimately, I guess, minor spoilers for a movie from the 70s, like the exorcism doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. Doesn't it just get transferred?
Yes.
The main priest that's running the exorcism dies, and the other priest is like, take me instead. And then as he's getting possessed, he jumps out a window to his death.
Except he doesn't die, because Exorcist 3, he comes back, and it's spooky as crap.
Well, also, Exorcism 2, Reagan is still possessed. Like, let's just ignore that there are sequels to this movie.
But James Earl Jones is in the second one, and he roars like a leopard.
Yeah, the second one is nonsense. The second one has an inception machine.
Yeah,
and she goes to a therapist whose, like, entire office is made out of mirrors. Like, what the hell?
Yep.
And then James Earl Jones is both a doctor, but then also, like, a witch doctor that spits a cherry tomato into a pool. I don't understand.
There's locusts and Pazuzu.
I also was like, next time on ADReel-talk, The Exorcist trilogy.
Yeah.
I mean, we could.
We could.
Do you want to dig into the shit? Do you want to be very disappointed by how good the first movie is?
How bad the second one is, and then how okay the third one is in comparison to the first one?
It's honestly like watching Terminator 2 and then Terminator 3, 4, and 5.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Oh, shit. Oh, damn. All right, so
Terminator 3 is like awful, and then Terminator 4 and 5 are like they're okay. They're pretty okay movies. And then Terminator Genesis happened, and like I don't know, Arnold needed money.
Arnold needed money.
And Arnold needed money for his re-election campaign that year.
Yeah.
He needed to remind the voters that he could fight off the cold government
he could still be
by
the
being a cold government robot.
Yep. But if that's it we have for Dark Knight 6...
I think so. I think we spoke for a lot longer on this than it deserved to be spoken on.
we meandered about because, unfortunately, like we've said, it's not a very cohesive story. It's not very good.
Yeah, it's about as cohesive as a David Lynch TV series.
I would argue
you will not go besmirching the name of David Lynch.
Me and Matt will find you, and we will fight you. David Lynch makes stories that make sense to David Lynch. Just because you don't understand it and I don't understand it doesn't mean there isn't a point.
David Lynch makes stories intentionally only understandable by David Lynch.
I loved Twin Peaks, but that shit made no fucking sense by the end.
Clearly you didn't understand. You need to just be a Lynch.
Clearly.
I kind of I had to dig into it a bit to kind of get it, and now it's its own thing. The return explains things in a way that is complicated.
Oh, good.
Basically what we're saying is if you're ever in a relationship with David Lynch, you're just going to be, it's complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was, what was it, like, there was that interview, like, God is a woman. You care to elaborate on that? No.
No. Yeah, no, that's, from what I understand, that's most of his responses for, like, would you like to elaborate on that? No.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, we're never gonna know, like, how the baby from Eraserhead worked, because David Lynch does not want to ruin the magic.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how David Lynch do.
Alright, so I guess we have some more fodder, like, in the future for ADReel-talk.
Yeah,
definitely.
God.
We could hit that.
Exorcist, the David Lynch projects. You name a horror series, we can delve into it. Heck, we could do Saw even. No, let's not do Saw.
You could do Saw. I'm gonna stay away from Saw.
I have avoided Saw.
They're not good. There's an interesting meta implication to it I've talked about before.
I've listened to your Ugly Talk, and yeah, honestly, listeners should check out Ugly Talk.
Yes, please do.
Check it out. TheyKnowThings.com.
Yes. Actually, yeah. On that, do you guys have anything else you want to promote before we wrap it up?
Come to our podcast, Drunken Ugly, drunkenugly.com. Join our Discord, chat.drunkenugly.com. Go to our YouTube channel, yt.drunkenugly.com. Check us out on Twitter, @TheDrunkenUgly. I myself am at SpaceCow2455. Travis is at _JujuMonster, or Juju_Monster, rather.
Yes. Juju _Monster.
We're also working on a game. If you want to get updates on it, go to goblin.house.
Goblin House!
GOBLIN.house. We're most of the way there. Hopefully we'll have it out by, like, November of this year.
On my end, I run a Patreon, TGasQ3, just patreon.com/TGasQ3. I run weird shit, usually for these two.
Also both of us are on Twitch. Travis is mostly on Twitch Creative. What's your Twitch handle?
Wandering Scholar. If I stream, I usually stream at the beginning of the month or when the mood strikes me, making scenarios and RPG campaigns for this month. My Patreon is basically at the beginning of the month. I poll my patrons in my Discord for what they want. I spend the rest of the month writing. I take 2 weeks to run it, and then I take a week to edit it and post it up. So you can find me on Creative writing, talking through my ideas, and figuring out how to tell the weird stories I want to tell in systems people want to play.
Yeah, and then I'm on Twitch, again, Space Cow 2455. I'm trying to get one of the other Space Cows. There's people that have the handle Space Cow and Space_Cow, and they both follow less than 5 people, have 0 followers, and apparently never stream. And I'm waiting for them to spend their 3 months not on Twitch so I can take one of their handles. But you can also find me, if that handle ever changes, you can always find me at orbitalbeef.com. I have a habit of
desperately making me want to eat some ribs.
Ribs are made of pork.
You can get beef ribs?
Yeah.
This changes everything.
Suddenly Matt becomes a cannibal.
Actual cannibal, yeah. I guess, yeah. I think I've plugged all my shit.
We do have Ugly Talks, we've mentioned before.
Theyknowthings.com.
Yeah, if you're a fan, listen, make a comment, or if you're a fan of Al Dente Rigor Mortis here, tell them to tell us.
Yeah, if you want to have us discuss a thing, like, bring it to us and we'll, like, evaluate it as a topic. We got a big old Google Doc of topics we go through, and a lot of times just whatever strikes us at the moment. We'll probably be back to active posting by the time this goes up. Post like once a month and a half sometimes.
Usually it's once a month, if only because of monthly schedules work best for me. I have brain problems. So we try to make it work for both of us.
Anyway, yeah, that's I think that's all our shit.
Okay. And as always, you can check you can contact me, Review Cultist, at Twitter, at Review Cultist. You can leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Kiwi6, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr. We are on iTunes, so leave us a rating and review. Let us know how we're doing. Again, let us know if you want to see more of Matt and Travis from Ugly Talk
Travis
on the show.
Yes.
Travis.
Did I say not? What? Did I not say Travis?
Oh, you must have burped for me.
Oh, sorry.
I just heard Matt and...
My name can't be spoken. I heard Travis. It's fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's if we want to do more Al Dente Real Talks, we'll probably be doing more of them in the future, either on the main show or on the Patreon. Because we also have a Patreon, Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Just if you want to support the show, just go there and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have special episodes, extra content, and early access, so you get the episodes 3 days before. And $2 and $5 tiers. And to our patrons that are already helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and we very much appreciate that. And you can also check out the title cards for each episode either on crazonstudios.tumblr.com or on our YouTube channel, Al Dente Rigor Mortis, where you can check out the videos of each episode. And if you'd like to get in touch with us via email, we are on aldenterigormortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigormortis@gmail.com, where you can leave us suggestions for other creepypastas or creepypasta-related things or things that you feel would have inspired creepypasta, and we will find a segment for it and put it on the show. So
and if you need to get scissors for a ribbon cutting ceremony, be sure to check out ceremonialribboncuttingscissors.com. If you want to get the biggest set of ribbon cutting scissors, go to goldenopenings.com. They also sell keys to the city.
Okay.
That's not even a sponsored thing. I'm not even getting money for that. Do you want big scissors and like a carrying case?
So until next time,
yeah.
I've been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Matt.
I'm muted, Travis. Hi.
Credits. 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 Credits.